Game on.
Did you get it, Rick? I can't hear it. He gave it to you. He gave it to you.
We got it?
Yeah, you got it.
Nice. Yes.
He's got all these fancy tools, man. He can do anything. But
he's pretty polished.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guy behind the camera gets enough credit.
He doesn't. He does not.
Y'all can't see the set we're sitting in right now. He's about to yell at me, "Don't look at the camera.
Yeah.
Don't make eye contact." But, man, it's very nice.
Spiffy.
I mean, it's about as nice as your race cars.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, with quality throughout, baby. Yeah, quality throughout.
Very nice.
That was, when me and Rick been friends a really, really long time, and ever since I told him probably 6 years ago, I'm like, we're gonna hire you. Like, I don't know how we're gonna be able to do that, but we're gonna hire you. And yeah, now we got Rick, and we have the best media guy out there. I mean, there's nobody that does it like Rick.
It's very impressive.
You feel special sitting here, right? Like it makes the whole vibe is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Great vibe.
So this is just another edition of our podcast. I got my friend Tom here. The world knows him more as Jimmy Dale than anything, which that's a funny story in and of itself. One of my favorite people in the world.
Thanks, man.
I love hanging out with you. I wish Texas was closer to Kentucky, because I think if you look at the 50 states across the board, Texas and Kentucky are really like, they're battling for number one. You probably got some reasons that you like Texas better. I got my reasons about Kentucky. So if they were together, that would be the best part of this whole 50, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No comment. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, I'm sure everybody in Kentucky's like, Kentucky's way better than Texas. And then Texas is all,
you agree with this. You'll agree with this. That if you come to Kentucky, people are proud to be from Kentucky, right?
For sure.
And if you go to Texas, I love that about Texas. You got your early videos was always start out with some Texas song. It was awesome. Yeah. Because you're proud to be from Texas.
Very.
And but Ohio? No one's like, I'm from Ohio. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same.
I mean, they got the Buckeyes. Is that Ohio or is that Nebraska?
See, nobody knows.
Just like that, all my Ohio people out of the chat. See you later, bud.
I mean, they need it. Ohio's just going to have to do better.
They got stuff.
Yeah.
Ohio's very pretty. Kentucky's very pretty. Texas, y'all got us beat in the hills and trees part, We got more racetracks, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's a lie, too. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know if you have more. I mean, we got, I don't know. I saw a map the other day. Like, that's a constant thing, right? Everyone's like, oh, the racetracks are closing. So Brad sent like a screenshot, because he's the big brain. He thinks through things. It was like a screenshot of where all these tracks are located in America. I mean, honestly, we could probably stand to lose a couple, right? I mean, there's a lot of it. We do a lot of business with people from Australia. The links that they have to go to get to a drag strip is insane. I'm sure where you're at, there's probably a handful within an hour or two from you.
Yeah, 5.
So same here, about the same amount. So I mean, we're lucky, So I think you spread that out. That kind of makes it tough for each individual thing to thrive.
I admire Kentucky and your whole area by how well your promoters have worked with each other. You got Happy and yourself and all these different promoters, and Ryan Mitchell, I guess, is a good example. And then homie with the beard, his name's Charlie. He's doing some good stuff. But how well everybody works together and doesn't, get upset with each other is really impressive to me. Back home, there's a lot of competition, for that whole scene, and there's lots of drama that goes with promoters. And we do our small tire gangster race, and I try to not be on top of anybody, but inevitably you're going to be on top of someone. That we have our race coming up September 30th, and there was another race that was happened to be booked that same day. But instead of just being like, oh, send it, we were able to contact that guy. His name's Stefan. We were able to contact Stefan and work through it and say, okay, let's do this. Let's do a bounty. Let's put $5K between the two parties. Let's put $5K on top for anybody who wins the same class both days.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Now you're hooked to come to my race, and you're hooked to come to his race the very next day, and you got no prep on Saturday and radio prep on Sunday. Like, chances of someone doing it, pretty slim.
Yeah.
You know, and his race is like a charity race.
Yeah.
These two kids who lost their dad in a drag race. And Blake Williams still has a lasting impression on everybody in DFW. And his two kids, every year they do Burnouts for Blake. And so Burnouts for Blake is a charity event to, you know, pay for the kids. I'm sure it goes into savings or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just like, hey, you're 11.
Yeah. Have at it.
Have at it. You know? It's not like that, but you know, kids they should be set up pretty good.
Yeah.
Community really takes care of that, doing that.
Oh, and I think the drag racing community, since I mean, really, we're so we're all so terrible with money that, I mean, you're not going to drag race unless you don't really care to set it on fire and watch it burn. Because of that aspect of it, when there are people in need, I think drag racers are awesome about like, man, just have it. You know what? I was going to blow it on this stupid car anyway. Yeah. So I love that, and obviously that's an important event for, you know, everybody to be at, right? Yeah. That's a great thing, and I don't know. I think drag racing in general, I love that aspect of not everybody gets it, but the people that really shine understand that we can shine together. That sounds so corny, but we're all better together. And just because another dude builds rear end housings like we do doesn't mean that I can't love that guy, encourage that guy.
For sure.
Because we can't build all of them.
Yeah, I tell people that are running competitive nitrous kits, like, I'm just happy that you run nitrous. Yeah. I'm thrilled that you're a nitrous guy. Now, when it comes time for you to buy some more nitrous stuff, I'd love for you to buy Nitrous Express. Matter of fact, here's my number. Call me. Yeah. But I'm just stoked that they're using nitrous to go faster, and hopefully,
because it's a terrible way to do it.
I mean, yeah, but it is the sexiest.
It's the coolest way.
It's the sexiest way to do it for sure. And I've got a turbo car. I mean, it's not like I don't play both sides of the field. I got a turbo car, and it never did it for me like the nitrous game.
You just don't feel it near as much. Like when like before we had Charlie, had a bunch of turbo out stuff, and like, man, it wasn't your like run your mill stuff. Like we went mid fours with it. You know, it's fast stuff.
That's fast.
But
fine.
Man, there's nothing like being on the starting line, revving up a big block nitrous car, especially when Poland's next to you, and he's just like, yes. Right. Like, man, I'm going to rev this thing up until it dies.
I think we're really getting the culture now where, like, the spectator who may not be super up to date on, you know, what combo's this, what combo's that, but they know this. Wow!
Yeah, rev that thing up.
Let's go. Yeah. You know, like, I think the entry-level spectator or follower of the sport, or maybe somebody who's building their first car, they see how attractive nitrous is, as far as, like, I think you were saying in your last podcast, bro, we're showmen. Like, we're part of a circus to put on a show. Yeah. And I really embrace that. If you watch any of my Jimmy Dale videos, you can see, like, oh, this guy's show first, go second. Yeah. You know? I'm not the fastest guy. I do a good job of racing in my wheelhouse, so to speak, but I'm probably one of the best at, like, making it a vibe or making it a party.
Dude, I'll give you that 1,000 times, man. Like I love being on the starting line when you're racing. I love it. Like I would follow you around and just be there with you for that. Like, it's such a fun time. And then, like, when you do beat the other guy, like, you're like, War in the Woods is a great example. You weren't even worried about stopping. You're just, let's give him some whops. And then you realize, oh, this thing's got like a 900-foot shutdown. Like,
that's what they mean by this place is short.
It's coming up in a hurry.
I went from, like, I can't believe I won, whack, 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 to, oh shit. I pull the shifter down into first. It's all, I'm like, oh boy, this is great for a new motor, you know? I ended up hurting the motor because, man, some people don't know this, but I bought my car turnkey, which I always am telling people, like, the best way to get into the sport is to buy a proven turnkey car.
Yeah.
Don't try to build something. I think you talked about it before, but you see so many people building stuff without direction. It's just like, this is what I have. Motionraceworks.com, tinsoldiers.com. I'm buying this, I'm buying that. And then they end up with like, yeah, congratulations, you built a 4,000-pound truck.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. What are you going to do with it?
I don't know. I mean, the burnout contest is next week, bro. You missed it. But I think that's what we have the most trouble with in our industry is the people who are entry level, like getting into the sport. They don't have much of a direction of where they want to go or what they want to do. They just maybe have a vehicle already, and then they're like, oh, I'll just build this because it's what I have. Like, that's probably the biggest mistake people can make starting out in the racing industry would be like buying or having whatever and be like, I'm just going to build it because I have it. No.
Yeah.
No. How about you let go of that, sell it, get whatever money you can, push it in the backyard, forget it even exists.
Buy a turnkey Fox body Mustang.
You said it, not me, man. You said it, not me.
Well,
I went from a Cutlass. I had a Cutlass. It went 530s. It went 160 foots. Shot big flames out the side. It was a 408 LS Glide, Lexan windows, completely gutted. Like, it barely had floors in it, and it still weighed 3,000 pounds of me in it, like $29.99.99.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, this isn't very exciting, you know? So then to go faster than people don't realize this. There's a brick wall at 530, everybody. 530, 540. Everything has to be working to go faster than that. You're not going to just luck up and go faster than 530, 540. 550, 560, you could have some serious chassis issues that you can just make up with power. Yeah. Doesn't care. But as you start getting lower and lower in the fives, it starts being more of like everything has to work perfectly. Whether it's your shocks, whether it's your chassis stuff, Converter. And like I'm running into an issue with Magic Johnson that we're going to look at later today and I think a lot of people miss this. My anti-roll bar end links are smacking the floorboard.
Yeah.
Like you could run it for years and never pay attention to that and never even notice it. But now that I've noticed it, it's like, that's why my car likes to wander around on the big end because the car is fully squatted because it's all stock suspension. It doesn't separate, but it's fully squatted, and I feel like it's just riding the anti-roll bar end link. So it's like really a solid tail dragster, at that point.
Yeah.
So if the prep's not there, like this past weekend, we were at Centerville Dragway in Arkansas. They scraped to the 330. So to the 330, it got good. After the 330, they didn't scrape or do anything, obviously no spray. And it was survival after the 330. And I've just now gotten to the point as a tuner to be able to have the confidence to pull timing after the hit. When you're starting out, you're not thinking about, okay, I need to make this thing go down 100% under power the whole way down. You're just thinking like, oh, okay, I have this amount of nitrous and I need to pull this amount of timing or this amount of boost and I need to pull this amount of timing. The last thing on your mind is I'm going to pull more timing.
To make it go slower.
To go slower.
Yeah.
But you get to stay at wide open throttle and you don't have to pedal it, which in turn actually goes faster. This is kind of a...
Yeah.
So I'm getting there. That's like a this week type of learned thing for me. I just learned that or had the confidence. I don't want to say learn that, but...
You knew it. You just didn't want to apply it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of it. I've always had this idea that my car's too slow for whatever class. I think a lot of people feel that way. Like inadequate, know? Drag racing's definitely a keeping up with the Joneses type of industry. And when you're looking at a true street field, and you go, well, that guy makes 1,300, and that guy makes 1,400, and that guy makes 1,500, and that guy makes whatever, you're just in your head. Then you're like, oh, well, my small block on a 300 shot may make 9. I better use all of it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to pull that degree or 2 degrees in my case last weekend. You don't want to pull that 2 degrees past the 330 to keep it planted.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think one of the things that I admire about you is you've done a great job of racing in your lane and like knowing where you fit and
Thanks.
like, you know, like you said, all of it's psychology, honestly. You're just so comfortable with who you are. It's awesome to watch.
Thanks.
And because of that confidence in your personal life, you're like, I don't care that if I show up and I lose, or I show up and I enter this class that I probably won't win. But then a lot of times you win anyway. You know, you've had a pretty good streak, right?
Yeah.
And I think like it's one of the reasons that you know, we wanted to get on board with you. Is because you're gonna have fun no matter what. And if you lose, I like as a company, I'm like, I don't have to worry about Tom throwing his helmet across the parking lot in a Tin Soldier shirt, because that's never going to happen.
No,
right? It's a beautiful thing, man. Like, you know, like the amount of times I've seen people at the racetrack that, you know, they lose a race and like, you know, or the tree malfunctions or something happens, you know, an act of God, whatever. And they're like throwing their helmet and doing that. I'm like, dude, it's really just not that important, bro. Like,
it's not.
We're just going straight down the racetrack. Like,
yeah.
Hey.
At the end of the day, you're just driving 660 feet.
It's not that complicated. Yeah.
You know?
So,
I think I've definitely had a bunch of adversity in my personal life, you know, outside of drag racing, that you look at drag racing, whether you win, lose, draw, whatever happens, you're just like, still alive. You know?
Not bad.
That's kind of what I'm always saying to people. Still alive. but did I die? Not yet. I'm still there. So that's kind of where my head's at with most of the drag racing stuff. But like War in the Woods, I hurt the motor, but don't worry. Even though the motor's halfway blown up, we burned 3 pistons out of this thing. I throttle whacked it 18 times back to the trailer.
Yeah, you did.
You know? It doesn't even want to rev. It's all, I'm like, no, you get in there, boy. Come on now. And I would have done everything. I would have jumped on top of my car and started ripping my T-shirt off and throwing it in the crowd if I had park. But, you know, I don't have park, so that's another problem. You know, we'll get to it someday. It'll happen.
That's so one of my, honestly, it's probably my favorite memory of drag racing this year. You know, we were in the middle of a bunch of stuff. We haven't got the race as much as we wanted to, all these things. But I ran up to War in the Woods, honestly, just to hang out with you guys. I knew you were there. Couple hour ride, stayed for a couple hours, and then had to hightail it back. But standing on the starting line and watching you win that first round, I was so excited for you to drive back, because I knew how excited you were gonna be. And like I told my buddy David that was with me, I'm like, that thing's not even gonna have gas left in it, because he's just gonna be like, what. And I mean, and you pulled through. That's what it was, you know. And like watching that, I'm like, man, you know, people need more of that, like, because joy is contagious.
Absolutely.
So, you know, like to watch you win and then watch how stoked the crowd is, because we are, to that point, we are showmen, but we should be having a dang good time. And it was awesome to watch, man. It was just awesome to be there.
You.
Fun to, awesome.
Yeah. I can't think of the last time I went to a race and really didn't enjoy myself. I mean, right now, I'm kind of like at a stride in the year, so to speak. We've won 7 events this year. Like, that's getting it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Any race program, you are getting it. Yeah, I'm like, call me Erica Enders, bro. But all that comes back to just racing in your lane. You know, you look at a rule set. If someone's getting into drag racing, you would tell them the same thing I'm about to say. Look at the local rules to the track that you want to go race at. Look at the rule set, and then build a car around that rule set. That's what all these like killer radial versus the world, radial versus LDR, super duper, this, that, or the other guys that I've always looked up to since I was in high school. Because like, I remember watching the Shadow take flight, and that seems really recent, but even before the Shadow took flight, like I remember watching Radio vs. the World stuff, like 2000, what was that, 8, 9, 10-ish? Something like that. I was a teenager, and I remember sitting in a booth at Chili's when...
Chili's.
Yeah, we're sitting in a booth at Chili's.
When the last time in the Chili's?
Oh, man, I wouldn't recommend it, you know? But sitting in a booth at Chili's, and we watched the Shadow take flight, and our whole table's like, oh my God! And everybody's looking over like, what the heck is those guys' problem? You know, we're like, this is crazy, bro. You know, that was right when cars started to do that whole take flight thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what is obviously more power than people know what to do with.
Yep.
It's a big issue, but I think we can probably learn in the aerodynamics from NASCAR guys.
Yeah, and that is starting to, you know, every time a car flipped or, you know, took flight, that was actually a pretty common conversation between Brad and I. Like when we were still kind of we were a car manufacturer primarily. We weren't at that time. We just built cars. So you're constantly thinking about how to make them better. And I think that's one of my frustrations with drag racing. Not frustrations, but it's one of the things like it's taken the least serious in that regard. I think I'm not saying that NHRA doesn't do a good job of trying to do stuff, and we got SFI working, but like, man, when you watch other racing, like we are the barefoot hillbillies.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like NASCAR's way, like.
Yeah,
like,
I went 550s last week in this outfit.
Yeah, not a good idea. Well, that's this whole separate podcast. But and then you got like F1, you got all this stuff that's like, man, like there's so much development all the time, and like we do put development in cars, and we do put development in safety, all those things. But these other automotive sports are just way in front of us with a lot of stuff.
How do they get the sponsorship money? Like, how do they get the mainstream companies to want to be a part of drag racing? Like, can you imagine Jimmy Dale in a Red Bull first-gen Camaro, and it's that royal blue?
I mean, I can see it.
Red Bull. It's a royal blue color, right? And it's got the sun, like, right about the quarter panel. It's got the bull coming over.
I love it.
Right?
I mean, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in too, dude. Like, you know, it's got a Red Bull give you wings across the front, nitrous flames, like 4-foot ones.
Yeah, because Red Bull's paying for them, so you're like, we got a 959.
959. Put as many kits. Let's get a world record for most nitrous kits on this thing. Like, let's go for all the cool records. Longest nitrous flames of all time. I think 6 feet's actually possible. I think it is. You know, we could work with Tin Soldiers and come up with some super cool parts. That's where my head's at. That's
a great question, though. Really,
that's what our sport needs, is the more mainstream sponsorships to throw the money towards the. And NHRA, like, I'm just gonna say it. It's boring. Sorry, Matt. I love Matt Plotkin to death. That's my boy. You know, Matt Plotkin is an NHRA tech guy. It's boring. There, I said it. You know, hate me if you want. I know your dad's an NHRA guy.
Well, I mean, honestly, though, like, so I grew up, you know, I started going drag racing with my dad as soon as I was born, right? I grew up at every NHRA track this side of the Mississippi River. I've been to all of them. I in the summer, dude, we'd race at least 2 to 3 times a month at some NHRA facility. Loved the people that my dad raced with, but I hated drag racing. I hated it.
Ugh,
I did not.
hate to hear that.
I didn't really honestly want anything to do with it. I thought it was the most boring thing ever. I watched my dad put all this effort in for such a minimal gain. The class that my dad does is called Super Stock, so we kind of chopped this up the other day. But anyway, and he's gonna kill me. But anyway, it's a glorified bracket race. And then a few times a year we would run heads up. My dad's a terrible bracket racer, but he's gangster heads up racer.
That's awesome.
He's good at making stuff fast. So I'm like, and as a young kid, I'm like, you know, 10 to 15 years old, when I kind of start to understand really what's happening, I'm like, Dad, why do we do this? Like, you're paying like $300 to enter this deal. You're racing for like $1,200. And in your class, there's like 120 cars, and they're all, and I'm like,
rough.
even though when I'm young, I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like, where's all this? What?
Yeah.
And
so we win, we still lose.
Yeah, like nobody wins here.
Nobody wins
and
here.
it's like, it's for the respect.
Yeah,
You know, like,
I think you
okay,
said,
cool. Yeah.
last week you said something, or on Happy's podcast, I don't know when that was, but last week you said something about the circus is paying for the circus.
Yeah.
I think No Prep is still in the clear. We're still in we're showmen. We're putting on a show deal. But, bro, can you imagine NHRA having a steel roof and quarters, which I don't agree to that. Actually, anything goes 28, 10, 5. Knock yourselves out. If you feel like you can go faster on a radial, go for it. If you feel like you can go faster on a slick, knock yourselves out. That would get some mainstream sponsors in small tire drag racing. Now, will it be necessarily No Prep? Not necessarily. But No Prep's main issue is that we don't have an NHRA to put us on Fox. You know?
Well, and we don't have, the other issue, I think, is we don't have like an industry standard for stuff. So it's kind of like the Wild Wild West. Like,
it is.
You know, like this guy's doing this part of the country's doing this. We're down here trying to work together with promoters, but I mean, we're not none of us are full time at doing this. There's not, John Sears had the RTRA, which was kind of the closest thing that I think that ever happened with, having like a small tire racing association was John. But John's one guy. It's not like he had a committee.
You need to figure out how to get small tire drag racing to happen alongside Top Fuel.
That's how you something do it. Like that. Well,
all the small tire drag racing that's been successful has been your radial stuff.
Yeah.
Which is not going to be ran alongside, big tire, Top Fuel, funny car.
Well, NMCA, we raced NMCA a couple years ago, and like I loved all the guys that were there. The organization themselves treated us so awesome. Like, but dude, I felt like I was clocking in and being my dad. Like, they have all these rad classes. They have pro mod. We were running Extreme Street. They still had a Super Street Outlaw class, which was same rules as X275. So you got X275, Ultra Street, pro mod. They got all these big tire like 632 classes, like rad stuff. 5 people in the stands, and like
why?
Because there's no thought of. I think that what's happened is that people think that drag racing, the people that are what's called the old heads, that's probably a bad way to look at it, but the people that have done this for a while, they think that drag racing is so cool that it needs nothing else, right? No. And like, I was watching your videos the other day, and like, I love the way Texas does it. Like, you guys are at the gut on a Thursday night, and you just like, the music's cranked up. Really, nobody knows what's happening. There's just a couple cars that are pulling up, and
I tell people all the time, it's the closest thing to real life Fast and the Furious you're ever going to see is going to Yellow Belly on a Thursday. Like, you're going to see fights, possible drug deals, tacos, girls, race cars, wrecks. Everything is going to happen, and it's all going to happen in
on a
one
Thursday
night.
test.
On a Thursday testitude. Yeah, there's no setup, this, that, and the other, but like, we always call it who's the king of the gut. Like, I would say, not even arguably, right now, Dakota, my buddy Dakota, is the king of the gut. That green Mustang.
Yeah.
And you guys can go to Jimmy Dale YouTube and watch my last video, a $10,000 Grudge race. But all that stuff happens in a Facebook group called Hood to Hood. Hood to Hood is probably Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, mainly Texas. People in that area that race. And that's where all the shit talk happens. All the grudging and whatever you call it, like showboating or negotiations, all that stuff happens in Hood to Hood Racing. So if you guys want to follow, go Facebook, Hood to Hood Racing, join Hood to Hood Racing. You can see kind of what's going on, the inner workings of what do you call that? The South?
Yeah, the South. Yeah.
The South. The South's grudge scene. But we were talking about it earlier. grudge racing's so fun because, like last Thursday, I put $1,000 of my money up. I'm sure Dakota put 1,000 of his money up. There's 200 from this guy, 500 from this guy, 1,000 from over here. You know, Raphael had 1,200 on it. Everybody puts their money in a pile and goes, okay, we have 5,000, we have 10,000, we have 8,000. Maybe it's $1,000. And then you go to the other team and they've done the exact same thing. They've all put their money together because they feel they have the fastest car, right?
Yeah.
And when you win those races, imagine like every single one of your buddies winning the championship, and they get paid too because they're invested in, like they truly believe in you, right? Those wins are so sweet. Like a grudge race at XRP on a Sunday can run 10, 20. You know, I've seen a $100,000 grudge race before. It's a thing. It happens.
Yeah.
You know, 20K aside. That happens all the time.
Well, and Ricky and I were actually talking about this the other day, because we're always like, I love getting Rick's perspective because he was never in this world. He just is here because
I asked him before. He said, "I don't care about racing much."
Like, but what you know, and I'll pick on him a little bit. Like when we win, like Rick love because he's invested, right? Like I love. Like he tries to get the good shot of the finals, right? But normally the camera gets shaky because he's jumping a little bit or whatever. It's so awesome to see. But we were talking about boxing, and because I watched this documentary on Netflix, and it just made me think. And you know, like that's the beauty of the grudge race stuff is it's two cars and one comes back, and like that is boxing. Two go up, one holds the belt. It's really simple, and they promote that one matchup. And they get everything they can get from that one matchup. There's a lot of money that's made. There's a lot of money that exchange hands. Like, you know, because at the end of the day, like this deal is driven by money. So like, how do we capitalize the most on something? Which I think that's what grudge racing does a beautiful job of is two go down, one come back, one gets paid.
Yeah, there's just nothing more exciting as a driver that I've felt yet than sitting on the starting line at XRP and like, you know, I think each track probably has a song that they'll put on the intercom before a big grudge race, but XRP's.
But they don't do that up here, but they don't even know. They hardly
don't have a vibe. Like,
they don't have a vibe like that.
I'll never forget sitting in my Cutlass. This is like 2019. I had raced a guy named Pretty Tony 3 times.
What a great name, by the way.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so Pretty Tony, and I'd raced Pretty Tony 3 times in a row, and every single time I had got him. You know, one time, it was just dumb stuff. He spun the first time, so we ran it back, and then I just treed him the second time. And then the third time, like, his collector fell off his car. It's all, It was like, oh, man. So the 4th time, you know, we're running, and I'll never forget, dude. I'm sitting in the car. I'm ready to go. There's still probably like, you know, they'll prep before a big grudge race, a bunch of money's on the line.
Yeah.
But they play Ricky, what's the song that they got the Mike Tyson in The Hangover? It's like, yeah, that's what they play. They play that and they jam it like loud. So you're in the car and you're like, I remember. You're just like, oh, let's go. And then you get into the beams and, you know, you hopefully cut the guy's head off on the reaction and you get to the end and you see your wind light come on. And that's really where the Whompers have come from, you know? Like the Whompers come from those days when your adrenaline is so high. You're just like, oh, my God.
Yeah, we want $10,000.
Yeah, and then it's everything in your power to not just turn around on the track and make a pass back to the starting line because that's where the party is, you know? Anytime I win a race, I come flying into the pits, slamming into park that doesn't actually park the car, and put my wheel chuck out. And I go running up to the starting line because I just want to catch the last of the excitement that was on the starting line. And you know who bet against you and who bet with you immediately. Yeah, you know, you can just see it on their faces, right? And we got a guy back home. His name's Funky Town Tyrone. And I've known Funky Town Tyrone since I was 13, bro. 13. Funky Town Tyrone was a bus driver in inner city Fort Worth, in, you know, not necessarily the ghetto, but like maybe the hood, whatever, you know. It's just black homie. He's got cornrows.
So hang on,
with beads.
So the hood, so the ghetto's what, like it goes in progression. Like the hood's a little safer than the ghetto.
Yeah.
Okay, got
for
it.
sure. Like you got like stop 6, that would be the ghetto, and then, you know, the hood would maybe be like just like southeast side, which is like you could probably get around the hood pretty good, like without any trouble, you know. But yeah, Funky Town Tyrone, I've known him since I was 12, 13. The first time I ever went to a drag race, my older brother, I really looked up to him when I was a kid. You know, I thought he was the coolest guy in the world, and he always had, you know, he's 14 years older than me. He's my stepbrother, but he always had cool toys, cool trucks, like, you know, money, whatever. He owned his own business. Like, I thought he was the coolest guy in the world when I was a kid. And he took me to my first drag race. And I'll never forget sitting in the truck. He called the track and he said, "Hey, I got my little brother and we want to come to a race, but what's the best day to go?" And they told him, "Well, next weekend and Friday is Pro Mods. That's when you should come." And they said, "And Thursdays gets a little aggressive." Or not Thursdays, Sundays, my bad. Friday next week was Pro Mods, and Sunday, they said, you know, it's a spicier crowd type of deal. So I go at 13 years old. I'm like, oh my God, dude, this is like Frankie the Madman Taylor is racing at my home track in Kennedale as a kid against Galen Smith and like all these like historic pro mod guys nowadays. And that was once a month. And the track would be so packed, there'd be like people walking in, parking down the road. And it was crazy. So I'll never forget going for the first time. And then as I grew up, it was like, we're going to go to the track every day it's open. Even if we didn't have money, we'd just sneak in the trunk, you know. Let's all put I got $2, you know. Like, I had a good upbringing, but I didn't have any expendable income as a child, you know. 13, 14, 15, 16 to 18, 19, you know, didn't have money to just go pay at the time, $10 or $20. Like, that meant all you had to your name. So I'll never forget one time we're in a Fox Body Mustang and we got two dudes in the back of a Fox Body coupe. Yes. Yeah, and we pulled to the Chicken Express before we went in. And you know how the back seat of the Fox Body Mustang kind of sits on those hangers?
Yeah.
We took it off the hangers and just laid it there, you know, and then we crawled in the back. And the guy who owned the car wasn't even driving because he didn't have money to get in. So the kid who had his $10 bill to get in the track, he got to drive homeboy's Fox Body Mustang.
Not a bad deal.
No, you know? So we'd drive from Chicken Express and what felt like the longest mile of our life driving this back road because it's 1,000 degrees outside. And then he'd be coming up to the gate and the guy driving would be like, shut up, bro, shut up. You know, and we're all like, oh, it's hot back here. I'm going to die, you know. We're talking crap
Smells
back
like
there.
chicken.
And he's like, shut up. And then, hey, how are you? And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm doing good. He pay his money. And then the second we passed the thing, he just pushed the seat down and flop out. Yeah. That was us as a kid, dude. That was us. And so I end up meeting Funky Town Tyrone when I'm like 13, 14 years old, sneaking into Kennedale, and he was there every single Sunday until this day. You know, obviously he's still alive, and he's at every big Grudge race, and he's definitely a focal point of the community. If anybody's ever watched any of my YouTube stuff, you probably hear a bunch of like boom is what we say in Texas after you get a big win, boom, and then people will do this gesture, which is not the nicest thing to do, but this is just the culture down there, is that you boom your opponent, you know what I mean? Like, you go rub it in his face. And it was just 3 weeks ago, we had a Grudge race with a car called the Weak Bitch, which you'll have to bleep that. But so the Weak Bitch car gave me the heads up clear. So it's a heads up race, but he has to clear me, which means there has to be a gap.
Yeah.
So you got guys from both teams at the end of the track with cameras, right? And the starting line is betting. Now, what's the safe bet on that? The safe bet would be that I'm going to take the weak bitch car because it's giving Magic Johnson the heads up clear. So even if he wins by an inch or a mile, his win light comes on. So if I'm gambling on the starting line, I'm gambling on the red car, right? Because it's obvious that he's supposed to win. It's just can he gap him or not, right?
Yeah.
What happens? They forget to turn the nitrous on. Magic Johnson runs out of his life. I come back around, and here's Funky Town Tyrone, and he's like, man, that was a setup. Y'all set that up. Y'all just trying to hustle everybody. That was a setup. I said, you know what, Tyrone? Boom! Just like that. And he's like, you can't boo me. You can't boo me. I was like, yeah, I can. You got hit in your ass, bro. I'm definitely going to boom you, you know? And he's the one who came up with the whole boom thing back in the early 2000s. He was booming people at Kennedale when I was a kid. So now that's just the culture, you know? You see Tyrone booming, and if Tyrone loses, then it was probably a setup, and it's just...
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's still got the cornrows. He's had beads in his cornrows for 20 years.
Same beads, yeah.
I don't know if they're the same beads, but I mean, they're just, when I was a kid, they were clear. They're probably clear still.
They're white now.
Yeah, I don't know if plastic beads mold or not, but no, he's good people. He's definitely a focal point of the scene. You know what I mean? And we have a bunch of people in Texas like that. I haven't seen a ton of grudge racing this up here.
There's not. There's like, it just doesn't, it don't happen like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know why. Like that's, like Heath he's a grudge kind of guy, right? But up here, he's Happy and them used to grudge race a bunch, but there's just not much of it, and I think it's really cool, like listening to you talk and hearing that, like that's kind of like why you love drag racing so much, is that.
Oh, for sure.
And I think in life in general, like we're just chasing the next story or the next thing that we can talk about with our buddies, and that magical celebration is stuff that like. That's all we're looking for in life,
right,
is magical celebrations.
For sure.
That are just, everybody's hyped and I think sometimes we just get way too serious about it all, like, and it seems like the faster the car, the more that's taken out of the crew.
Yeah.
And I mean, in general.
I mean, the weekends that we struggle the most are the ones we win. At Outlaw Armageddon, nobody knows this. I don't think I've even put it on my YouTube channel, but at Outlaw Armageddon, which we won.
We didn't.
No, you didn't. But you know how you said I race in my class? Yeah, y'all were out of your class there, boys. But
we needed a new car.
Yeah, nobody knows this, but in between rounds, my car is pushing like a half a quart of oil. It's filling the catch can every pass. I started up, it's smoking. Like, oh, come on, baby, just one more. Just one more. We just need one more. We get that one more. I'd be like, okay, I'm aligned. One more. So we ended up getting that win, and that was, like, we always win when we struggle the hardest. This past weekend, I threw an alternator belt off of Magic in the second round. Didn't find out about it until the semifinals. So I went a whole round with no alternator belt, but had no clue because I'm not paying attention to that kind of thing. And I didn't notice until the car was like, what? I'm like, oh boy.
So we have a problem.
Yeah, guys. So we have no generator, but I do have a battery charger. And so we push the car up forward. There's some random stranger's trailer. We're about to plug our battery charger.
Without even telling
We just know it's got power, We don't know where he's at. It's just some guy's car hauler. It's nice, It's got lights everywhere. You can hear the generator back there somewhere. We're like, let's just plug into this guy's stuff. And
he's got enough power to share.
Yeah, he doesn't. He may not even notice, And so then a Jimmy Daler comes over. He's like, I got a generator. And I mean, the support I've gotten from the people that have found me through YouTube is so wild, bro. So wild. Whether it's like company support is awesome. And I've had a bunch of companies, reach out and say, we like what you're doing, just like yourself. We like what you're doing. We like where we think you're headed. And we're ready to take the journey with you. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. But like the guy who shows up to the track because he saw Jimmy Dale's going to be in his hometown or whatever, and he just wants to hang out with Jimmy. This dude is full sprint to get his generator. Like, it's life or death to get this generator. And this is not, I mean, it's a generator, bro. Even though it's like a Honda 2000, it's still heavy.
Nice generator,
Yeah, he comes running back. I mean, full sprint with the generator. We plug it in there, and we make it through the semifinals, and we go into the finals, and the guy that I'm running, they say, we're having problems with the truck. I said, you know what? Me too. I'm having problems with my car. Like, look at it. It's got the generator sitting on the back with the battery charger. I was like, it's not supposed to look like that. They said, well, he has a ProCharged S10, and I don't know much about ProCharged stuff. I've never had anything like that. But I would assume that it's probably hard on flex plates and starters and stuff, because he had knocked either all the teeth off his starter or all the teeth off his flex plate. But, he just, and eventually it caught it some, and it was like, blah. It was like, okay, don't turn it off.
Let's race.
Let's race. Yeah, so we were both kind of in the same aspect, and, we got the win. That's kind of what it comes down to. But all the weekends where we struggle hard, those are the weekends that it pays us off. When we show up, we're like, everything's awesome. We just get straight up outran.
Yeah.
Be like that.
It does, dude. Yeah. I mean, but it's always, I think, I don't know, just listening to your love of drag racing and the experience of drag racing. Every time you go to the track, you're looking for an experience.
Totally.
And it's either, that experience is sometimes a win, that experience is sometimes a loss, it's sometimes somewhere in the middle, but you're looking for that drop of experience.
For sure. We won that one race at War in the Woods, and I felt like I won the entire event.
Yeah.
Like, Ryan Mitchell won the entire event. He had the fastest car there by a mile. I mean, Bank Robber was fast too, but he had the fastest car there.
That was his day. He
won the 30,000. It was his day. But moving on, now that the event's over, like, this is messed up because I love Ryan and Megan and that whole family.
Great people. I don't know them. I've actually never talked to the man, but I'd
solid.
Like to.
Super solid. And I think when someone went to that race, they probably don't remember who won it. They probably remember the goofy guy running around, throwing T-shirts, swinging the stereo around, dancing on the starting line, wooing and hooting and hollering and running up and down. Like, to me, putting on a show was more fun than winning the event there,
Well, and honestly, right before we started this, I saw a post and I kind of had this in the back of my mind to talk about anyway. And then I saw this post and it kind of made me think. And, somebody had got something from somebody to test, right? And there was people commenting on there like, well, I wish you would they should have gave it to a real racer. They should have, all this stuff. And I think I can speak to this because I'm a racer. We own a company, kind of both things. And like, you're obviously super involved with Nitrous Express, and all these things. So put that hat on for me for a second. Yeah. And it's like, at this point in the game, and some drag racers are going to find this extremely offensive, but it just is what it is. I don't care if you win. I don't care.
As a company supporter.
Yeah, with my
or a friend. Yeah.
If I'm just have my Tin Soldier hat on, we're just talking that. I don't care if you win.
Yeah.
I care about how you interact with people and the information that you can give me in return and how active you are in the scene. Is there people out there that we could partner with that win more than you? Sure.
Yeah.
Are there people out there that are faster? Sure. But they're not people that me and you talk a lot. Like we just call, like that means way more to me, right? Like that's my friendship hat, but it doesn't matter if you win anymore. Like it does matter if you win, but that's not the vocal point, right?
It helps to win.
It does, sure. But it's not. Would you agree with that? It's not the vocal point anymore?
Yeah, I think you said something a second ago about it's about how active you are within the community. That's when we're looking at someone to be involved with. Like Nitrous Express got on board with Tin Soldiers. That wasn't anything that I had to do. That was Michael Poland seeing the invoice and going, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm going to call these guys. We're going to make something happen.
Yeah.
You know, because the partnership is obvious. It's been great too.
Yeah.
Really
it's been really fun.
Yeah, it has. If you guys need any Nitrous stuff, you could holler at Tin Soldiers also. They got you.
we can sell you Nitrous kits.
Yeah, you've done that.
Yeah, it's good.
It's awesome. It's awesome. But I just seeing people's involvement in the sport is probably the number one thing. Like we get approached all the time about sponsorship deals and, hey, would you guys like to sponsor me or this, that, and the other? And I'll be honest, 99% of those are no.
Yeah.
Because we're in business to make money and to sell product and not to just give stuff away. But mainly because the people who are asking 9 times out of 10 aren't racing. You're not racing every weekend, and I don't really care that they win. I mean, winning is attractive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely helps sell Nitrous kits, winning. Yep. But it's not something that's like, well, you don't ever win. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think that it's about the activeness in the community, and then that you're continually active. That like, I love people that show their wins and their losses.
For sure.
Right? Like that's something that even to make myself vulnerable, like Ricky's really taught me that. Like before we had YouTube, which all YouTube is you're getting the background now, right?
Right.
You know, there would be stuff that I'm like, man, Rick, I don't know if we should show that. And he would be like, we are, because people need to know. And we do, dude. We share our wins and our losses. Like, dude, I was defeated when we left Armageddon. Like, you came to our motorhome after we lost first round, you right? Like, you know, and like that's like going out there. I felt like we had a car that could win, you know, and like I still feel like we had a car that could have won that, but there were some things that we would have had to figure out in a hurry. But you know, I don't know, like that. It was hard, you know. Ricky's job's way easier when we win. Like the weekend before, we crushed everybody, and that was an easy video for Ricky.
Oh yeah, everything is
awesome. But showing that struggle, like that struggle, is so important. You know, just being honest. So.
And then to see you guys come back and be like, we got outgunned. That's what happens. You know, it happens all the time. I've noticed. I feel like Charlie Brown carries a bunch of wheel speed and doesn't go anywhere when it has that wheel speed. But I'm no chassis tuner. I don't know anything what I'm talking about. My observation is that I feel like it carries a bunch of wheel speed and isn't going anywhere when it has that wheel speed. And it's probably because it's a boat. I mean, it's a slim boat, but it's like my Cutlass. It's over 3,000 pounds. Like, bro, it's not a 2,200 pound car with some wheel speed. Like that 800 pounds is probably the difference in really making progress with the wheel speed and not making progress with the wheel speed.
No, you're right. It's I don't know. You tell me this. You tell me how sexy the car is, right? Like it's such a cool piece. And when you came into our motorhome after first round, you know, we're all sitting there and we're already kind of figuring out a plan, and like. We actually talked about building another chassis for Charlie Brown and taking the body off of it and putting it on that chassis.
That was 1,000% happening when I walked in there.
That's what
this is what we're doing. We better get some sleep tonight, boys, because we're headed home and building a chassis in the morning. That's exactly the enthusiasm that came after getting y'all's butts whipped first round, for sure. And I can't blame you. I love that. To me, is the coolest thing about how motivated y'all are to be competitive. Y'all want to be competitive, and you don't want to. You want to race in the premier class. And the premier class is small tire.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said it. I think you said this. You have more access to technology, chassis stuff, actual skills of you working with your hands to make something out of nothing. Than, I mean, I don't want to use a percentage, than everybody else, right? Sorry to put so much pressure on you, but y'all do. You have the ability of building something that's extremely competitive, and I think and I don't want to necessarily put any names on it, but there's a handful of cars in the scene right now, in the small tire scene, that I feel like in this area, what do you call this, tri-state?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
The tri-state area, this Midwest-ish area, that have the ability of winning every single race.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Have they done it yet? No, but is the writing on the wall kind of like it could happen? Yeah, for sure.
Well, the frustrating thing for me is like, dude, we love Charlie, and I love everything that makes it that. I love that, when the hood's not normally on it because we don't have a hood for it right now, but when you look down in the engine bay, you see the same suspension that you can call TRZ and buy. You see a factory firewall. You see all these things that you're like, that really probably shouldn't be there. Like, the motor location for what we're doing is terrible.
Yeah.
And like, you open the door and you're like, holy crap, this thing, it's a real door. It's got door panels on it. It's, obviously it sits awesome like that.
It's sick.
It's a cool piece. So like, so the frustrating thing for me is like when we're out at those races and the big ones, like an Outlaw Armageddon, and I see a car that we're paired up against, and then I go over and I look at Charlie, I'm like, that's probably a bad idea. And knowing that we can build a way nicer car than the car that we're sitting next to.
Yes, that's like, what my point was.
That's really frustrating. You're like,
right.
All right, so we should probably just do that. But like, part of the marketing side of me is I love how relatable Charlie is. Like that's the marketing side of me, that like we win if we don't.
Definitely.
But I want to win. So it's just, is it a lot cooler to win with a Ford Nitrous car?
It is.
Yeah, but the likelihood of it always working out, not great.
Like, and don't tell me a first-gen Camaro, but Ricky, can I talk to Ricky
you
too?
keep talking to Ricky.
What would be the coolest drag car to you? Someone who's not in drag racing.
I couldn't even say. I honestly don't know. I have no idea.
Damn, that's such
He
a bad
doesn't even
answer.
like cars.
He said, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Good. Thanks for the
There was
input,
we were somewhere and there was a Pro Mod van once. It was what's that thing called? Astro. It's I forget.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Ricky wanted the van with the blower. He was like, "That's cool."
That's cool. What's the homeboy with the lowrider car? It's like yellow.
Oh, El Miramiro, which is Craig Sullivan.
Incredible.
That's a cool car.
Super cool car.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's Charlie Brown's just like Craig Sullivan's car, where if I'm 10, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and I see that, I could be like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. I remember I was probably in my early 20s, late teens, and I saw a Bugatti in person on the street. And I was riding my bike. This is when I lived in Austin, so I was probably in my early 20s, but I was riding my bike, and I saw a Bugatti outside the W Hotel. And I'm telling you, I was like, skirt, got off my bike and sat there Indian style. I was just like,
sat there Indian style.
Yeah.
Crisscross applesauce.
Crisscross applesauce and just took it in. It was like, that is awesome. at the time for me, that was the coolest car on the planet was the Bugatti. Like it had just kind of come out, and that was right about the time that they were doing F1 in Austin. So there was so much money coming into Austin, and then a few weeks later it happened again. A few weeks later, I'm coming around the corner, F40 Ferrari sitting on the curb, just like, what? So those types of cars, it would be so cool. Like, let's build a Pro Mod F40 Ferrari. But can you find a Ferrari body and build a chassis underneath it?
We probably fly over the Middle East. We get a couple. Bring back.
There's probably some beaters over there, Yeah. So let's talk about that. So Tin Soldier, F40 Ferrari, right? No more of this wing on the back, but like pro stock wing out the back, dual parachutes out the back. Maybe even way cooler if it had the motor in the back too.
Yeah.
Woo! Now we're getting on to something, right? Spindle mount front, maybe like full carbon body or something.
Yeah, I mean you can already see it.
I'm pretty good at imagining this stuff. Hey, somebody with a few $1 million, hit up my boys over here.
We'll make it happen.
They'll whip it up, Hopefully I'm still alive by the time it gets done being built. Because that's going to take a while. But Todd, you're going to get a lot of practice on your carbon work, bud.
Yeah, a little overtime.
Yeah. But, I mean, small tire, F40 Ferrari, pro stock wing, big parachutes out the back. Yeah, I think we built it. There you go. It's done.
That's for Rick.
There you go. Just for you, buddy. I would love to see you guys build something that is so off the wall that you don't have a choice when you're scrolling Instagram, but to be like, skirt. What the? Wow.
Yeah.
And that 69 Camaro in there is gorgeous, but it's not that.
No, you're right.
And
the only thing
Charlie Brown is that.
It is.
Charlie Brown is that. It's a 4-door car that shoots huge flames out the side of it. Like, it sits awesome. And I would say the Preston Brothers car is another one that's kind of like that, where you see it in person and you're like,
yeah, it's a beautiful car.
This is very well put together.
Well, and the
Keith Berry history makes it super cool for me too.
Yeah, I think I always I know those guys pretty well, and I'm like, someone put on Facebook, they're like, you should call it the Frankenberry. I'm like, that's its name, the Frankenberry. I'm like, that is it, dude. Like,
yeah, just the fact that the car is built by a chicken farmer and then he wins Radio versus the World, but he's not like a professional race car driver. He's just like a guy who's like, I want to go racing. And then he buys a Corvette, and then it gets turbo, and then it's like, oh well, you need an automatic transmission, and it snowballs and snowballs to that. And then you see that car in person, and you're like, whoa.
It's a nice car. I forget. I think Bell Chassis Works is who built it.
I tried to beat around the bush earlier, but that's definitely the car that everyone is like, they see the writing on the walls. It's like radial racer goes no prep. And there's, I think you guys said it. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but there's so many radial guys who have taken racing extremely serious for the last 20 years now.
Yeah.
That have taken it super serious the last 20 years, and now they can come beat a small tire no prep with minimal effort.
Yeah.
And
especially the longest thing for most everybody is to get a car together, and these guys already have really nice cars sitting in the garage. I hate to say old Pro 275 cars, but yeah, like old Pro 275, old LDR cars, stuff that, and really I wouldn't even throw X275 into that mix, because now front side no prep at your big events and even your small ones, they're Pro 275 cars. It's a fact. Most rules are factory, roof and quarters, right?
That's it.
And that's it. So, and that's pretty much the rules of Pro 275. It's the same. That is the same rule set, and people don't like to envision it like that, but that is the truth.
Yeah. You're seeing more and more of I think everybody's, as a promoter, let's put our promoter hats on now. I want to be able to have a class where I don't have to tech it.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thinks the same thing. So they're thinking 28 10.5. I don't care if you show up with John Force's funny car. Knock yourself out. If you can make it go down on a no prep surface, be my guest.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. Right? Rail car, come on.
Yeah.
All-wheel drive, come on.
Yeah. There was a
Okay.
dude that did that. Like, hey, you did a run what you brung, like 275 radial deal at a track around here like 10 years ago. Dude tried to put radials on a dragster. Didn't work. I mean, could it have worked?
Sure.
Yeah, but
eventually.
Heath just threw it on there and showed up, which I think is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to that guy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would love to see someone try to no prep a dragster. It's probably extremely dangerous. You know, those things are not meant to be, sliding around.
Squirrely.
A little squirrely there, but yeah. So you see, like, okay, small tire, 28 10.5, no roof and quarter. I think you're seeing more of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't want to sit here and, it's still here. It's got 28s on it. Knock yourself out. You're in. And then what our class that's starting to really take off would be like entry level stuff would be cheap street. And that's 650 to 70 random index. And then after that is a new class that you and me talked.
Yeah.
You may see it come to Cincy Street Nights. That I think is an immediate solution to your whole splitting up the 28s deal.
Yeah.
What do you charge to get in 28s right now?
$100.
That's it?
Dude, so this is the pay structure that we have, and we still struggle with car count. Limited 28s, okay?
Yeah.
$100 entry,
Yeah.
$2,500 to win, guaranteed. $1,000 to runner up, guaranteed. $250 to the semis, guaranteed on a $100 entry. Last race we had 16 cars. No.
Great. So you're only out 1,600. Cool.
No boosted big blocks, no spread bore motors, no billet pieces. Basically, was the gist of it, and 16 cars.
And the guys who win that class are going just as fast as your small tire cars.
No, they are. There's going to be someone that disagrees with me because they got Logan Duvall won. Which
limited class?
Yeah, which Logan's fast, but Logan's car is just back to the Fox body Mustang.
Yeah,
it's just a Fox body Mustang with an 8.8, and it's got it's a stock block LS motor, but
That's all it takes sometimes.
Well, so it's like over 400 inch, I think, with like a 102 or something on it. So it's a rowdy piece, but it's not an unobtainable piece.
No, it's all off the shelf parts,
and it runs really good. Logan's.
Yeah.
I love Logan. He's a great dude, and it runs really good. But it doesn't run twin turbo big block good.
Right.
Like it's just not going to do it.
Right.
Like so there it like people are like, well, you didn't fix it. Well, we actually did. If you really knew the numbers, you all of us kind of know what everybody runs. Like the fans don't.
No,
right?
but if you're in the scene, you have
so
a pretty good idea.
Basically, Logan's car would be a couple of tenths off a really good twin turbo big block combination. It just or twin turbo small block or whatever, like a nice.
So if you let Instant Green compensate for the lack of power, right? Which Logan Duvall is like, shut up, Jimmy.
Yeah.
But if you let Instant Green compensate for the guy who's underpowered, so he can guess the tree, right? Which is obvious, huge gains to be made guessing the tree or losses. But I feel like people get it right 9 times out of 10.
Well, there is, and so back to putting the different hats on. My promoter hat, I love Instant Green. I love it.
Yeah. But racer hat is like, I hate this.
Yeah, exactly.
Same here, dog.
Yeah.
Same here.
But
as a promoter, I'm like, this is great for the sport and letting a slower guy have an opportunity of beating a fast.
Because he has to take the chance, and the fast guy's just not.
Nope.
So he's
like,
never going to do it.
Covered.
Yeah. I mean, I've never guessed on a treat, ever.
Not even Instant Green? You never even took a whack at it? Telling you there's nothing better than letting go of that ball, halfway past the tree and watching it go green. No,
the last race we were at, we talked about it. but we're so much of class racers that it almost does not compute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's starting to get to where it would, but
Yeah.
I think that. But back to your point, I love what Texas does and what you guys are doing. Your little gangsters class, it's just a 530 index.
I'm trying to figure out a way for someone to. All right, so small tire gangsters is how I'm going to set it up. But the problem is you have a $100 buy-in right now, because I'm going to give them 2 classes for 1 buy-in. You know, you want to run small tire, it's $300. But guess what? You get a free entry into little gangsters, which is a 530 index. Yeah. So I'm going to take 100 of your $300 buy-in. I'm going to put it towards little gangster. I'm going to put 200 to small tire. Like, now, if you only want to run small tire, it's still $300.
Yeah.
If you only want to run little gangsters, it's $150. But if you are a little gangster car and you can go 530s on a no prep, the extra $150 to just be like, nah, it's $150. Like, I want to go race.
Yeah.
You know, you get to run 2 classes for that same 300. I don't know. I'm trying to do anything in my power to make it more of like a feeder class. That's where my head's at with it. It's like, if you can win little gangsters, we had Michael Hollis win little gangsters. We had 44 cars and paid over $15,000 for little gangsters, which was 530 index. And it was Kyle Buckmaster, which is a full-blown small tire car, dominates our area, versus Michael Hollis's, I think it's like a limited 275 car.
Yeah.
And he's on radials with a big block, like pushed forward. He's still in radial trim.
Yeah.
He's just doing everything he can to keep the tire playing.
Make it happy.
He's slowing it down. You know, this is a car that I can share times with that car because it ran a light the boards up class. But I think that car went 470s, 470, 480 on radial prep in Texas limited 275 or whatever. Does that sound about right for a limited car?
Yeah, limited 275 is almost identical rules to Ultra Street.
So there you go. So like an Ultra Street guy can show up, keep his radial on the car, and try to slow it down here, and here to make it go A to B, which took him all day long. But by the final, he got it. And the other guy has got, this is a small tire, no prep car, but let's say 5.0 car, right? Without giving it away how fast it possibly could have been.
Yeah.
Actually, I could say it. That car had been 490s pretty consistently because the car's dismantled now and, the motor's over here and this over there, and he sold the car. So I can share how fast that car went. So you got a 490 car versus a 470 on radial prep. They're both trying to slow it down to go 530. That to me is, if I have a 550 car and it's an instant green, like, let's go. Let's get in it.
Yeah.
Why not?
No, I agree. And I think every class, so just take out the unlimited class, right? On a 28 or 29 or whatever you put it on. That class doesn't matter. There's no ET cap. There's nothing that you're trying to do with that. Every other class that you have that you've put rules on, you have a floating index in your head that you're trying to make that class run anyway. You're just trying to dictate it for the rules so that the guys racing it, it's just a psychology thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's our struggle up here is I think people struggle with the index thing. They're like, oh, what if I go faster? Well, man, you're probably not. Like the average, an average small tire car that runs 530s is getting it done. And like when we had this conversation the other day, and you were talking about how fast a 530 car is, you were so excited about a 530 car. It was like a check for me though that like, dude, 530s is fast. Like
it's fast.
It's fast. Like so, I think around here, like. A lot of these guys I think they're just getting discouraged. Like, I just don't have a 450 car.
Totally.
Right? You're like, man, you know how many people actually have a 450 car?
No.
Like, I mean, there's not many,
No,
just happens to be 4 or 5 of them right around here,
Yeah. And I don't even think they're going 50s on a consistent basis. Maybe when the track's right, the perfect kind of conditions happen. There was a race at Yellow Belly before Small Tire Gangsters, our first Small Tire Gangsters, called Baddest Small Tire in America, and it was water burnout, all that kind of thing. And I think it was just the fact that the track preps Monday through Friday. They spray it Monday through Friday, and they didn't scrape or anything. So, sure, after you put some slicks down it with water burnout only, and these cars are making 1,500, 3,000 horsepower, and they're going all the way down there, your Brent Selfs, your Adam Plunkett's, your Jason Cantus, Ryan Mitchell's, like that surface gets good.
Yeah.
And we were walking the big end of the track, and I raced the whole race on radials. The whole thing. I mean, a no prep on radials in True Street. And by the semifinals, I got beat by Stefan, but I did like 150-foot wheelie. The car just was never going to come down. It was just,
Yeah.
It was like, wow, the surface has really come around here. So I could see when that type of scenario happens, which happens every now and then. You could definitely bust off a 450.
Yeah, if
possibly
not,
faster.
and if not faster. I mean,
Outlaw Armageddon's a good example. That was fast.
Really
Those guys were rolling.
Yeah, really
I don't have any ET in my head of how fast I think they were going, but I think
I know exactly how fast they were going, but I don't know. I don't think that's my place to share that.
Sure it is. Come on, let's get some numbers out. 50s, 60s, 40s,
faster.
40s.
Yeah, I think there was some that dipped a little faster than that.
But now we can't say names, huh?
No, I don't know. I'll just say it. We went a 79 off the trailer and got beat.
By a guy who did 3 wheelies and went lane to lane, almost did a 180 and a backflip and still got you.
And I won a 79 off the trailer.
Yeah, and he was all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And still got you.
Yeah, Pro Charge.
Pro Charge Hemi deal, yeah. Double frame rail, real race car.
Well, and that's what I've joked around about it, but a 79 on a front side no prep off the trailer, that's a pretty stout number.
Bro, that's very stout.
So it's it definitely was. I knew how fast everybody went. Like I knew that, and I know how fast I think that we can go. I don't know. I guess if we're saying numbers or whatever, we've been bottom 60s. And we can go faster than that. We just haven't had the surface really to do it. We haven't got to try our lockup and stuff. So, I have an ET going on my head that I think that we can get Charlie to go. But we need a pretty decent no-prep track to do it because of the weight and all these things. Where what I was really impressed with by all those guys is how little of a racetrack that they had. And how fat, and I think that that's the weight, that is.
And then the lanes flipped. You remember that? First night at Outlaw Armageddon, everyone's like, I want to say right lane was the first night, but by the second night it was the left lane or vice versa. It was one or the other, but overnight the lanes flipped as to which one's the hot lane and which one's not. And I don't know what contributes to that, whether it's the way the sun goes down or... No idea.
Yeah.
But I know that one lane was dominant the first night, and then the second night Outlaw Armageddon, it was the exact opposite, situation. The opposite lane was the more competitive lane.
Yeah.
Which, nobody wants to have a one-lane race. I think you hear about one-lane races a lot. You don't want to have a one-lane race.
No, and I think, the lanes are going to flip throughout the night, like you said, just depending on how the sun goes down on them. Somebody has an oil down. The other challenge with the no prep track is if they do have an oil down, which is obviously going to happen, we hope it doesn't happen, but it happens, or a car wrecks or whatever, they have to go prep the lane. It's unavoidable. You have to do something. So then, now you're trying to clean that deal up. Now, did you make that lane better now? And then now do you need to touch the other lane? There's so much unknowns, and people get so butthurt about some of that stuff, but it's just unavoidable. That's just what's going to happen. So.
Mad shout out to all the track owners who are trying to balance I've never even realized how much effort goes into keeping a track a slick prep, a radial prep, a no prep. But over the last year or two, me and Raska owns a track It's called Wichita Raceway Park, so that's my home track in Wichita Falls. And seeing how much effort goes in Monday through Friday to race on Saturday is immense. I mean, it's a full-time job. It's not just to show up on Saturday and crack this Johnny off and send him down there, you know? It's nowhere near that. And then if you got a radio prep track, like even more stuff you got to keep up with. And
well, that's
lifestyle.
We work with Edgewater, which is 30 minutes from here, and that's actually we're gonna have Rob on there on this, and we're not even gonna talk about our event. We might end up, but I want to talk more about him owning a racetrack, what that's like. I think people would find that interesting. But dude, this year we did a Cincy Street Nights a week after they had this Nitro Chaos race, and they put a lot of glue on that racetrack. So the track was killer. I mean, killer. So, and you can't, I think people when you don't own a racetrack, or you're just an event promoter, or you're just a racer or whatever, you get so one laned into what you do that people were mad that the track was so good. It's like, well, then you can't have that guy. Like, they're trying to make money, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell them, like, man, you can't have your Nitro race a week before or no prep. Like, you can't do that. Like,
he's doing everything to stay afloat.
Yeah, we're trying to keep him here, like whatever makes sense. But
we lose $1,600 every class we run.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I don't think people, sometimes they don't put together that math, like, you're like, it's paying $2,500, there's 16 cars, and, and then we've already paid another, that's 35. So, yeah, you're out $4,000.
Yeah. I don't know how y'all manage to do a race on a monthly basis, because I'm doing another race right now, but we have 2 races, that are this year. Without our sponsors who want to be a part of what we have going, you guys included, thank you very much for supporting our Small Tire Gangster, promotion series, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Well, we hope to have a car there, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. It went from, we'll be there, to, we're working on it.
Yeah. Moving into this place is really...
I feel you. These guys used to get ice cream for a treat. Now they get AC. So, I don't know which one you'd rather have. You guys want ice cream or AC? But I'm sure as it cools off uphill, they'll be like,
ice cream?
Snickers, please. Yeah. These guys be killing the candy in there. I don't think nobody realizes. I've had candy thrown at me 5 times. I've been here 30 minutes. And like, here, you need to bulk up. But
it's funny.
Yeah, this place is awesome. Can people come by here and check this place out?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, it's we definitely it's against traditional business sense. But we do have an open door policy, just because I think that, I want to make sure people feel loved.
Yeah.
And which is, again, that sounds corny, but like, I want them to come in and, if you're having a bad day, you need some encouragement, like, we're here for you, like, yeah, dude, like, we're a race car shop. We build race car parts. Obviously, we have to make money. Like, we got to pay for the place. I get it. But, man, life's too short not to encourage people and love people and interact with people. Which is,
you heard it here first, folks. You ever need a prayer by my boy Jay, come on by. He'll bless you.
Yeah, I will, man. Yeah, and I mean that. Like, I think
it's the truth, dude. This guy's got such a big heart. I'm going to talk about you for a second. We've been talking about me this whole time.
All right.
This guy, we've known each other for maybe a little less than a year, and man, you do such a good job of being able to tell when one of your friends or your buddies is stressing or distressed. Like, I don't know if you can tell by social media posts, or really, I think it's just a vibe that you keep a good, feel for your people. And I was going through some crap a few weeks ago, and you called me up and you said, "Hey, man, I just want to see how you're doing," and you could probably immediately tell in my voice, not so hot. It's still alive, but not so hot. And you're like, what? It'll be weird, but maybe not be weird. I don't think it was weird at all. But you were able to, pray for me while I sat in my truck outside a rib crib before lunch with the boys, and man, it took so much stress off my shoulders because I think, and I've given you mad props for this, like making Jesus and God and religion cool. You've done a great job of that. And whether it's a motivational Monday or just how you operate in your day to day is very solid. And that doesn't mean that there's not dick jokes around here, you know. there's still inappropriate stuff, guys. Like you could still be a scumbag and be a Christian, which that's awesome, you know. That's awesome because a lot of race car guys are not, you know, we're all assholes at the end of the day. But I just want to say thanks for that. But yeah, you reached out to me and said a prayer for me while I was in my truck, and I just felt so much better. I think a lot of the guys who are definitely into drag racing, we may have like grown up with a religious background, but when it comes to like trying to talk to God or say a prayer or something like that, I would say a majority of us don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's a good amount of guilt that comes over you because you're like, I haven't had a relationship with God. So now I'm just supposed to be like, hey, God, I know we haven't talked in the last 25 years, you know, since I was 7 years old in youth, and I've done all this crazy stuff. And there was that one chick that I left at the gas station. And, you know, like, you're thinking all this stuff. You're like, I feel so guilty talking to God right now. I shouldn't even have this access. But thanks for, you know, putting the words out there and making it cool. And I don't want to even say acceptable. It's always definitely been acceptable, but, you know, it's just something I'd try to hold those values, you know, more. Probably a little bit more like Ricky. I'm not really holding my tongue when it comes to any subject. You do a great job of not F this, F that, and anything in between, but I don't really do that. Just, you know, but
well, that's the thing.
Mad props.
I know you fish, and I know that you love fishing, right?
Definitely.
But the whole deal with it is like, you know, you can't clean that fish until you catch it, right? Like that there's a process that happens. And, you know, with Christianity and stuff, obviously, I mean, you know me, I make mistakes. I do things that, you know, I screw up. Like it all happens, right? But the thing is that God just wants a relationship with us, and through that love that we receive from Him, we want to change. We want to, you know, we want to carry ourselves different. We want to do these things because of the love that we feel from Him. Like, you know, like that was one of the things that my mom, she was such a great mom, and I'm lucky to have her. But the way that my mom disciplined was so unique. Like, if I did something stupid, she would tell me like 2 or 3 things she loved about me before she corrected me, because she wanted to enforce that she loved me, and that when she went to correct, I knew I had that background of love and know that, like, man, she's doing this because she cares, and I want to listen to her because I know that she cares about me. Where I think a lot of society is, I want you to listen to me because you fear me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people think about God. They think that He wants them to fear Him so that we listen and that we get in line. But that's really not the motivator. The motivator's love. The motivator of why I try to live the way I do is because of love. Like, and I'm not gonna tell my guys that they can't say penis jokks. Like, you know, I'm not gonna tell Ricky what music to listen to.
I wasn't here 5 minutes. Jay Bird's like, hey, you know. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
I can only take credit. I can only, you know, control myself. I can't control anybody else. Like,
well, you're doing a good job being a influencer of how, you know, you could live. I don't want to say you should, but you could.
Yeah, and I
right?
don't want,
here's one way to do it.
And I
Here's
don't want
another way to do it.
And I don't want anyone to ever.
We're making
feel
Ricky
like
seem like an ass, dude.
No, Ricky. No, I don't want anyone ever to feel like that. You know, like, I just, you know, I want people to feel loved. You know,
you said something to me a while back that was like really hit me hard, and we don't have to talk about this all day long, but that you've seen people and things have happened in your life that there's just no way that were going to happen that way or be that prosperous or, prosperous is probably the word. Like, this would have never happened if it was just dumb luck. Like, it's too good to be dumb luck.
100%.
And that's definitely where I am in life right now. With my family, with my racing program, with my friends that I surround myself with my relationships in the industry, like Tin Soldiers, Iski, Nitrous Express, so on, so on, so on. It's past dumb luck. Now we're getting to, like, something's out there looking out for me. Or at least that's the feeling that I get. Because when I was in my early 20s, it was definitely like, I did this and I did that. But now that I'm in my 30s, it's more like, wait a second. Someone's looking out for your boy, and maybe it's just good luck. The way the moon was set up when I was born, and my mom drank that one drink that had the crystal in it, and I don't know, dude. I don't know. I have no idea. Just you never know, right? But the older you get, the more I feel like that's like, nah, something's out there,
Well, at the end of the day, man, I think you have to have faith in something, and like the way my brain works, whether this deal, whether you think the deal exploded, and then we, however that deal came to happen, it exploded, and then we had a deal, and then the people come from the mud, and whatever, right? Whatever you think, or you believe that there's, the way I think, I think there was a God that loved us that did this. There is a logical end of where you can no longer trace it back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's either on either side of this coin, there's an end to where our brain is at its point of,
for sure. I don't even stress myself out about like where did the world start or anything like that. I just worry about how can I get my race car faster
that's fair.
And how can I drag race for a living, like that's number one goal for me.
That's a current thing right now.
Is to drag race for a living, you know what I mean? If you ask me, I'm probably, I don't know, Ricky, I think you and me probably agree. God's an alien and he put us on this planet and was like, here, do your thing. And so God is actually a real, like, physical thing that lives for eternity. Abstract thought? I don't know. It could happen. It could be real. What do you think, Rick?
I don't believe in a God at all.
There you go. Would you still call it God if it was another species that dropped us on this planet and was like, here, you guys,
Mars
screw this planet up?
From our definition of a God, then I guess that would be.
It would be a God,
sort of God.
But you could believe in that idea that some aliens were like, here, let's drop some of our species off here. Let's drop some of our species off here. And then humans never figured, or maybe not yet, we haven't looped back around. You know what I mean? We're in a cul-de-sac of planets, and they haven't, the ice cream truck hasn't come back around. The ice cream truck hasn't come back around to us. So we're just out here
all waiting for the Snickers ice cream.
Yeah, we're like, hey, guys, we're still here. We don't know how we got here. How did this happen?
That's funny.
Yeah, I like my idea.
It's possible.
It could happen.
Could have happened.
Insert Angels in the outfield kid. But
That's good.
It's been really good. Thanks for having me out here. I really appreciate it. Had a great day today.
Yeah, you can come anytime, man. And
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed our talk and what
it was good.
Yeah, we kind of went everywhere.
I think we touched pretty much every basis you need to touch.
Yeah, there was a lot in there. Ricky probably gonna have to edit that, but it's all good.
You gotta leave the cul-de-sac of planets part for sure.
Yeah. The cul-de-sac, that's your next shirt. The cul-de-sac of planets. Jimmy Dale theology. It's a cul-de-sac of planets.
All right, so look, dude, there was this God, right? What kind of race car did God drive?
I think it's that is a good question. That's something I think about probably too often.
Yeah,
What do you
dude.
think you would be driving?
I think some sort of van because he wants people to come with him. You know?
Race car? No, I mean, you're with him in spirit, but not like in the car. Bro. Like, come on, dude. No, God's definitely got the F40 Ferrari with the pro stock wing.
100% though, he's in a Nitrous car.
1,000%. Yeah, that's why Nitrous still exists. I mean, he put Nitrous on this planet.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why Charlie's still a Nitrous car. It's the Lord's power.
It is.
That's a good shirt. The Lord's power adder, baby.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Nitrous like a natural made thing in nature?
That's what, dude. That's all we got. So we no longer we don't have 3 systems on Charlie Brown. We have 3 of the Lord's breath.
Oh wow! Now we're on to something. God's breath. Yeah, that's fire. I like that a lot.
Dang, yep. I mean, we'll have to edit all this out just so people can't steal all of our awesome ideas.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But man, we appreciate you guys watching, hanging out with us. We look forward to the next one. I don't know who'd be after Jimmy. We'll see, but every 2 weeks you're gonna get a sit down.
Hit the comments below. Who do you want to see in this seat? Let's find out in the comments.
You
Hit
do
them
a great
below.
job of that. Yeah.
Thanks, dog. I mean, for real, go to tinsoldiers.com. Buy a t-shirt.
Go to Jimmydale and buy a t-shirt.
Oh, thanks. JimmyDaleRacing.com.
JimmyDaleRacing.com.
Yeah. Apparently Jimmy Dale was this crazy guy, and he bought the original domain.
It was like the guy with Joe Dirt.
Yeah. It was another guy.
It was the Joe Dirt in the hole.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
All right, bud. Well, we love you. Thanks for hanging out.
Love you, buddy.